The GOP's internal civil war is now out in the open. One House seat, two GOP candidates, two fundraisers, one headed by Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and the other one will be headlined by former Speaker John Boehner. The matchup is between incumbent Congressman Gonzalez and Max Miller. Trump hosted a fundraiser for Max Miller at Mar-a-Lago because he will be running against Gonzalez, who is one of the 10 House Republicans who voted against Trump. Last week, Paul Ryan was a special guest for Liz Cheney's fundraiser. And let there be no doubt about what extent Trump will go to see the exit of Liz Cheney. So there you have it. The old hands of the GOP, John Boehner and Paul Ryan, are lending a helping hand and cover for Republicans who stood against Trump. And Trump is not shying away from a fight either. He has already named and tried to shame the Republicans who voted against him during the impeachment trial at the CPAC. Now, he is running fundraisers for people who are running in the primary, especially for the candidates who will be running against the list of people who he wants to take down from the GOP. Politico reported earlier this week that Trump went around asking about the possibility of taking on Ohio Governor Mike DeWine during the Max Miller fundraiser. Then, there is a rebellion of sorts going on against Brad Raffensperger in Georgia. You guys may have heard about Congressman Jody Hice. Last week, he announced that he has been endorsed by Trump and he will be running against Brad Raffensperger to be the Secretary of State in Georgia. That's GOP against GOP. So it's a given that there is going to be a primary challenge against Brad Raffensperger, who crossed swords with Trump after the election in Georgia. It's a little too early to completely write off Gonzalez, Liz Cheney, and Brad Raffensperger. But what is happening with these three established, elected GOP representatives is a microcosm of what is going on inside the GOP tent. Trump is out there to prove a point. He wants to clean up the GOP of anyone who opposed him. He is kind of building a loyalty-based reward system similar to the airline ones. The further the distance you have traveled in the Trump political flight, the better your seats will become. And a good dose of cartel-like punishment system as well. If you stood in the way and refused to take orders from Trump, you will be dragged out of your seat. Rewards for unflinching support and punishment for any deviation. But what has also become clear is establishment Republicans have not thrown their towel. Not yet. Boehner and Paul Ryan's decision to headline fundraisers for anti-Trump candidates shows that there is some resistance. But in my personal opinion, it is game over for establishment Republicans. They are done. The day they zipped their mouth and allowed Trump to go on and on after the November elections is exactly the day that their clock ran out. Their political careers, for many of them, is completely over. 5 Republican senators have announced their retirements, while 0 Democratic senators announced theirs. This is already the Trump party. Only 10 House Republicans voted against Trump during the impeachment trial. There were more than 200 for him. So I seriously don't know what these establishment Republicans are trying to do here. It looks more like the last scream before you lose the game. Trump will win this matchup. Some of these seats may eventually end up in the Democratic pocket. But that is not going to stop Trump from pushing for a complete takeover of the GOP, because every time his candidate loses against the Democratic candidate, you all know what he is going to say. Thanks for watching. If you like it, please do subscribe.